Hey everyone, welcome back to the Racing Helmet, the channel where we always prioritize information over entertainment. If you are here to learn, you are in the right place. In this video, we are doing a complete breakdown of one of the most iconic Japanese engines of all time, the legendary Mitsubishi 4G63. We will dive into its origin, its engineering, and of course, its immense tuning potential that has made it a hero in the JDM and motorsports communities. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Our story begins in 1980s. This was a time when Mitsubishi was rapidly expanding its engine lineup to remain competitive in both domestic and international markets. To bridge the performance and displacement gaps between the smaller 4G3 Astron and the larger 4G5 Saturn engines, Mitsubishi introduced the 4G6 series, also known as the Sirius engine family. This new engine line was designed from the ground up to be a compact, efficient, and versatile inline 4, capable of handling everything from economy cars to rally spec machines. The Sirius engines were water-cooled, inline-4 gasoline units that emphasized lightweight design, reliability, and cost efficiency. The first in this new family was the 4G62, a 1.8-liter single overhead cam engine. It debuted in the Mitsubishi Lancer EX in February 1980. Despite its relevancy, modest size and output, it was praised for its efficient combustion, compact packaging, and overall balance between performance and economy. In comparison to the earlier 4G5 engines, the Sirius engines were not only more modern in design, but also more refined. The 4G6 was 20 kg lighter and 65 mm shorter, allowing for better weight distribution and easier packaging within engine bays. But things really took off just 2 months later. In the April 1980, Mitsubishi unveiled a 2-liter variant, the now iconic 4G63. This engine would go on to become Mitsubishi's flagship inline 4 for nearly 3 decades, powering everything from family sedans to World Rally Championship winning machines. The first car to feature a 4G63 was the 4th generation Mitsubishi Galant, inherently known as the A160 chassis. In this application, the 4G63 was naturally aspirated and featured a single overhead camshaft design. It was smooth, torquey, and reliable, the perfect daily driver engine. But no one at the time could have predicted the performance monster this humble 2-liter engine would eventually evolve into. Just 1 year later, in 1981, Mitsubishi took a bold step that would forever change the destiny of 4G63. Enter the Mitsubishi Lancer EX 2000 Turbo, the first production car to feature a turbocharged 4G63 engine, designated 4G63T. This version retained the single overhead cam architecture but added a turbocharger and an electronically controlled fuel injection, a rare and highly advanced feature at the time. The result? 168 horsepower and the top speed of 200 km per hour. Astonishing numbers for a compact sedan in the early 1980s. But this car wasn't just a quick street machine. It had motorsport ambitions right from the start. That same year, Mitsubishi introduced a rally-bred version of the Lancer EX 2000 Turbo, built for Group 4 and later Group B homologation. These rally cars received significant upgrades. Most notably, a reworked 4G63T engine produced up to 276 horsepower. Though in practice, power levels were often higher. It's almost impossible to talk about Mitsubishi without going into the rally. These cars featured strengthened internals, upgraded turbochargers, more aggressive fuel mapping, and rally suspension setups. These machines were not just fast, They were brutal and raw, built to withstand the toughest conditions in international rallying. Mitsubishi's motorsport division, Ralliart, fielded two Lancer EX2000 turbo entries in the legendary Acropolis Rally in Greece in 1981. It was the beginning of Mitsubishi's long and glorious rally legacy, and the 4G63T was right at the center of it. While these early Lancer rally cars weren't yet dominant force they would later become, the groundwork was laid. Mitsubishi engineers created a robust engine platform that could be tuned, upgraded and pushed well beyond its stock limits, a fact that tuners and racers would soon discover. By the late 1980s, Mitsubishi Motors had learned a lot. Their early experiments with turbocharging the 4G63 had proven successful, both in street cars and on international rally stages. But Mitsubishi wanted more. More performance, more precision, and more trophies. The next step in the 4G63's evolution came in the form of a vehicle that would change the game. The Mitsubishi Galant VR-4. Unveiled in 1987 and entering production by 1988, the Galant VR-4, short for viscous real-time four-wheel drive, was not just another performance sedan. It was Mitsubishi's first true Group A homologation special, built specifically to compete at the highest level of rallying under new enforced Group A regulations, which replaced the infamous and dangerous Group B. And at the heart of the Galant VR-4 was a totally revoked version of the 4G63T. For the first time, Mitsubishi gave the engine a dual overhead camshaft configuration, paired with 16 valves. 4 per cylinder. This was a massive leap forward in engine breathing efficiently, enabling higher RPMs, better throttle responses, and much more potential for power and torque. The new dual overhead cam 4G63T produced 195 to 240 horsepower depending on the year and market. It was mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox with full-time all-wheel drive and the center viscous limited strip differential. For its era, the drivetrain was revolutionary. It gave the VR-4 incredible traction and handling, practically on loose or slippery surfaces like gravel, snow or ice, the very conditions found on most rally stages. But what really made the Galant VR-4 a breakthrough machine wasn't just the engine or the all-wheel drive, it was how cohesive the whole packaging was. It was the first time Mitsubishi put together a truly advanced rally platform using all the lessons learned from the Lancer EX2000 Turbo. It was done with an obsessive attention to performance and reliability. The VR-4 was a technical showcase for Mitsubishi, and it was the company's most advanced passenger to date. And that investment paid off, especially in Finland, one of most iconic and challenging countries in the World Rally Championship calendar. Known for its fast, flowing gravel roads, blind crests, and massive jumps, Rally Finland, also known as the Thousand Lakes Rally, is a true test of a car's suspension tuning, throttle control, and power delivery. It's the rally where only the best of the best shine, and in the 1989, the Galant VR-4 proved itself a worthy warrior. That year, Michael Eriksson drove a Galant VR-4 to overall victory in Rally Finland, marking a huge achievement for Mitsubishi. It was the first time the brand had won this notoriously difficult event, and it was a huge statement to the rest of the World Rally Championship field. Mitsubishi was no longer just showing up, they were here to win. Eriksson's win wasn't just a flake. The Galant VR-4 was fast, composed, and reliable. It could handle high-speed gravel corners with precision and blast through rough terrain. The all-wheel drive system provided incredible grip, and the dual overhead cam 4G63T delivered power smoothly across the rev range. Exactly what a driver needs to maintain momentum through fence-length, slipping turns and sudden dips. Over the next few seasons, the Galant VR-4 continued to rack up respectable finishes in the World Rally Championship, further providing the durability and tuning potential of the dual overhead cam 4G63. And even though it was a mid-sized sedan, not as nimble as some of its hatchback competitors, its combination of power, control, and high-speed stability made it a genuine threat on any surface. But perhaps the most important part of the Galant VR-4 story is what came after it. The success of this car directly led into the creation of the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, a car that would become a motorsport legend and carry the 4G63 engine to even greater heights throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. In many ways, the Galant VR-4 was the missing link, the bridge between Mitsubishi's early rally experiments and the dominant Evolution dynasty that followed. It was the first car to pair the 4G63T with dual overhead cam and advanced all-wheel drive system, and it proved that Mitsubishi had what it took to challenge the best in the world. So, while the Lancer Evolution gets most of the fame, it was the Galant VR-4 that laid the foundation for everything that came next. It showed that Mitsubishi could take a road-going sedan, build it for world's toughest rally stages, and win, even in Finland. In the early 1990s, Mitsubishi Ralliart decided to pair 4G63 and all-wheel drive with a smaller and lighter chassis. They chose one of their ordinary econoboxes, the Mitsubishi Lancer, and they gave it a 4G63T, all-wheel drive, and a sporty body kit. They called it the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. The first Lancer Evolution, also known as the Evo 1, was released in 1992. It featured all-wheel drive, 4G63T, an output of 250 horsepower and a 5-speed manual transmission. But Ralliart didn't stop there. They wanted to upgrade the Lancer Evolution. Therefore, in 1994, they released the Evo 2. It received stiffer chassis, better suspension tuning, and tweaks to 4G63 ECU. Then in 1995, Ralliart dropped the ultimate bomb, the Lancer Evolution 3. Ralliart redesigned the front bumper, a bigger wing for more downforce, and with a bigger intercooler and revised cam profiles. The 4G63 was tuned to 270 horsepower. But it wasn't just about numbers. The Evo 3 was a machine built for dominance, and Ralliart intended to prove that on the world stage. Enter Tommi Mäkinen. In 1996, Mitsubishi paired him with the Evo 3 for a full WRC campaign. The timing couldn't have been better. At the 1996 Rally Sweden, one of most challenging snow events on the calendar, Mäkinen unleashed the full potential of the Evo 3. The car's lightweight chassis, perfect torque distribution, and improved turbo responses gave him an edge over the competition. On sleek, icy roads, where every twitch of the throttle could send the car sliding into the snowbank, Mäkinen was in total control. He went to win Rally Sweden, his first ever World Rally Championship victory. And just like that, the Lancer Evolution was no longer just a promising rally car, it was a champion. The 4G63T, now in its most potent form yet, had propelled Mitsubishi and Tommi Mäkinen to the top of the world. But it didn't stop there. Mäkinen, Ralliart, and the Evo 3 continued to dominate that season. The 4G63 proved to be incredibly durable, handling long rally stages across brutal environments like the dusty tracks of Safari Rally. the rain-soaked road of New Zealand, and the blistering heat of the Acropolis. By the end of 1996, Tommy McKinnon had clinched the WRC Drivers' Championship, making Mitsubishi's first major WRC title. It was a milestone moment not just for the driver, but for the entire brand. Ralliart's strategy had worked. They have taken an everyday sedan, armed it with a carefully refined version of the 4G63, and built a car capable of world domination. Also, if you are still finding this video helpful, consider subscribing for more car content. After Tommy McKinnon's stunning 1996 World Rally Championship win in Evo 3, Mitsubishi and Ralliart were on a mission, not just to win again, but to dominate. And at the center of it all was the 4G63T engine, now fully battle tested and ready to be pushed even further. In 1996, Mitsubishi launched the Lancer Evolution 4. It was more than just a refresh. It was a major leap forward. The 4G63 received a new twin-scroll turbo, revised internals, and updated ECU tuning. That year, McKinnon secured his second WRC title in a row. Next came the Evo 5 in 1998, wider, meaner, and more powerful. The 4G63T was upgraded again, bigger injectors, a revised turbo, and stronger internals push it to the edge of JDM's gentleman agreement limit of 276 horsepower. And just like that, McKinnon bagged his third straight World Rally Championship. But Mitsubishi wasn't done. In 1999, they released the Evo 6, the most refined of Group A era Evos. Better cooling, a stronger turbo, and enhanced reliability made it the most complete package yet. Once again, Tommy McKinnon dominated, claiming his fourth consecutive World Rally Championship Drivers' Championship, a record that still stands today. From 1996 to 1999, the combination of Tommy McKinnon, Ralliart, and the 4G63 was simply unstoppable. The engine had proven itself not just as a powerhouse, but as a symbol of consistency and resilience. Across snow, gravel, and tarmac, it delivered. Tommy McKinnon dominated the rally stages in WRC, so much that Ralliart decided to create a special edition of Lancer Evo 6, called the Lancer Evo 6 Tommy McKinnon Edition, or Evo 6 TME for short. This beast had everything a car enthusiast could ask for: a quicker steering rack, a titanium turbocharger, a lowered suspension, and a tunable ECU. Mitsubishi produced only 2,500 units of this legend, making it extremely rare and valuable today. By the early 2000s, the Mitsubishi 4G63 had already proven itself on the world's toughest rally stages. But its legacy wasn't just written in the forests of Finland or the mountains of Monte Carlo. The real surprise? This rally-bred beast also found a second life on the streets of America. In the late 1980s, Mitsubishi partnered with Chrysler to form Diamond Star Motors, or DSM, a joint venture aimed at producing affordable, sporty cars for the US market. One of the most iconic products of this partnership was the Mitsubishi Eclipse, which launched in 1989 alongside its near-identical twins, the Eagle Talon and Plymouth Laser. But what really set these cars apart, especially in their turbocharged trims, was the heart under the hood, a detuned version of the legendary 4G63T. The 1G Eclipse GSX, released in 1989, featured the turbocharged 2-liter dual overhead cam 4063 engine paired with all-wheel drive, just like the Lance Revolution in Japan. With 195 horsepower and tons of tuning potential, it quickly became a favorite among American enthusiasts. For many US car lovers in the 90s, the Eclipse GSX was their first taste of Mitsubishi performance, and the 4063 was the reason. It offered everything: boost, reliability, and affordability. The tuning community quickly discovered how easily the engine could handle 300, 400, even 500 horsepower with relatively basic upgrades. In its second generation, the Eclipse, produced from 1995 to 1999, continued to offer the 4063 in the GST and GSX models, with slight refines to the cylinder head and intake system. While the Evo wasn't available in the US at the time, the DSM cars became America's unofficial Evo subtitles. As the early 2000s rolled in, the 4063 was already a legend among gearheads, tuners, and rally fans, but soon it would become something more: a mainstream cultural icon. And it didn't happen on rally stage or on a dyno sheet. It happened on movie screens and gaming consoles. In 2003, Too Fast and Too Furious hit theaters, and front and center was a bright green Lancer Evolution 7. While the hardcore fans already knew what an Evo was, for the average moviegoer, this was their introduction to Mitsubishi's all-wheel drive monster. Suddenly, the Evo wasn't just a rally car or a tuner's dream. It was cool, it was flashy, and it was everywhere. That one appearance brought global attention to the Evo and, by extension, to the 4063. Even though the movie car was heavily modified and its actual specs were never discussed, fans knew it was powered by the same turbocharged inline 4 that had been dominating rally stages just a few years earlier. And at the same time, Gran Turismo was becoming the best-selling racing video game series in the world. Players from every continent were introduced to the Lancer Evolution line, from Evo 1 to Evo 9, all featuring the 4063. Even in the digital world, the 4063 could be tuned to absurd power levels, raced on iconic tracks, and compared to the legends like the Skyline GTR and Subaru WRX STI, it gave millions of young enthusiasts their first experience with the engine, virtually. This combination of Hollywood exposure and digital dominance helped turn the Evo into a JDM superstar, and the 4063 became a household name for car fans globally. But by the mid-2000s, the 4063 was showing its age. Competing engines were moving to aluminum blocks, variable valve timing, and higher efficiency. Mitsubishi needed to give the iron block some modern touch. In 2005, they introduced the Lancer Evolution 9, the final production Evo to feature the 4063. But this wasn't just a simple send-off. It was the most advanced version ever. For the first time, Mitsubishi gave the 4063 Mavic their variable valve timing system. This allowed the engine to make more power higher in the rev range while retaining better roll-end torque and improved fuel economy. Combined with the new turbocharged and revised internals, the Evo 9 produced 276 horsepower under gentleman's agreement, but in reality, it was closer to 300 horsepower. Tuner-friendly as always, the Evo 9 became a global favorite. With just a few bolt-ons and a proper tune, 400-500 horsepower was within range and reliable diesel. By 2007, emissions and efficiency standards forced Mitsubishi's hand. The Lancer Evolution 10 was introduced with the all-new 4B11T, an aluminium block 2-liter turbo engine with more modern architecture. The 4G63 run had finally ended, not because it couldn't keep up, but because it had done its time. Nearly 3 decades of rally stages, street races and garage builds. From grease gravel to Gran Turismo's Nürburgring. The 4G63 had been there, done that. Now we are going to talk about different versions and variations of the 4G63 engine. Over its long production life, this engine went through a lot of changes, some small, some major. And in this chapter, we are going to cover them all. Let's start with the simple one. Single overhead cam versus dual overhead cam. The original 4G63 that came out in the early 1980s was a single overhead camshaft engine. It was used in naturally aspirated applications like the early Galant models. It was efficient and reliable, perfect for everyday use, but it wasn't designed for high performance. Later, Mitsubishi introduced a dual overhead camshaft version of the 4G63, and this is where things really took off. The dual overhead cam setup allowed for better airflow, higher RPM, and more precise valve control. All of the performance-oriented versions, especially the turbocharged 4G63T, were dual overhead cam. Now, let's talk about something that matters a lot to tuners. The 6-bolt versus 7-bolt crankshaft. From 1989 to 1992, the 4G63 used a 6-bolt crankshaft. These engines came with stronger connecting rods and a more robust bottom end. They were capable of handling big power with minimal internal upgrades, and they have earned a reputation for being bulletproof. Starting around 1993, Mitsubishi updated the engine with a 7-bolt crankshaft. This version had some efficiency improvements, but it also had a weaker thrust bearing setup. Some 7-bolt engines suffered from a problem called crank walk, where the crankshaft would move literally and eventually damage the engine. While not every 7-bolt had this issue, it was common enough that a lot of tuners preferred the older 6-bolt block. If you're building a high horsepower 4G63, a lot of people will recommend doing a 6-bolt swap, especially if you're working with a DSM like an Eclipse or Talent. Now, here's a big one. Something that physically changed the entire engine bay. When Mitsubishi rotated the engine 180 degrees starting with the Lancer Evolution 4. In the early Evos 1, 2 and 3, the engine cam belt was on the driver's side of the car, similar to DSM cars or the Galant VR-4. But in the Evo 4 and onwards, Mitsubishi flipped the layout. They rotated the engine 180 degrees, so now the cam belt was on the passenger side. This layout stayed all the way through the Evo 9. Now, let's talk about applications. The 4G63 appeared in multiple platforms, and not just Evos. It was in the Galant VR-4. It powered the Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX and Eagle Talent TSI all-wheel drive in the US. It was found in front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, naturally aspirated and turbocharged versions. And of course, it was continuously improved in each version of the Lancer Evolution, from the Evo 1 all the way to the Evo 9. Each version had its own ECU tuning, turbo size, cam profile, and injector setup. Some had smaller turbos for quick response. Others had bigger ones for the top-end power. And toward the end of its life, in the Evo 9, Mitsubishi added Mavic, their version of variable valve timing, to squeeze out even more performance. So, to sum it up, the 4G63 evolved a lot over the years. It started as a simple single overhead cam daily driver engine and ended up as a world-class performance platform, from 6-bolt to 7-bolt, from front-wheel drive to all-wheel drive, and from transverse to rotated engine layouts. It's one of the most adaptable engines ever made. Now, we are going to talk about something that has given this engine a legendary reputation around the world: its durability. The 4G63 isn't just famous for its performance. It's famous for how much abuse it can take. Tuners, racers, and engine builders all agree this engine is bulletproof. But why? Let's break it down. The heart of the 4G63's length is its cast iron engine block. Unlike many modern engines that use lightweight aluminum blocks to save weight, the 4G63 was built with a dense, strong iron block. That means it can handle extreme cylinder pressures, massive boost levels, and high temperatures without cracking or rapping. You can throw 10, 20, even 30 psi of boost at it, and if it's built right, it will survive. There are street-built 4G63s making over 1000 horsepower on stock architecture. You can do that with just any engine block. That's why this stands out. Now, let's talk about the internals. The early versions of the 4G63, especially with the 6-bolt crankshaft models, came with stronger connecting rods, beefier pistons, and thicker bearings. These engines were seriously overbuilt from the factory, even in non-race applications. That means even a stock 6-bolt 4G63 can handle high horsepower with minimal internal upgrades. People have taken stock bottom ends to 400 and even 500 horsepower reliably. Later, 7-bolt engines were slightly lighter and more refined for emissions and efficiency, but they weren't quite as strong. Still, with a proper build, even a 6-bolt can become a monster. One of the most underrated features of the 4G63 is that it uses a closed deck design. In simpler terms, this means the area around the tops of the cylinders is fully supported by the block, instead of being open like many modern engines. That makes it much more resistant to distortion under high pressure, which is critical when you're running high boost and high RPM. This design gives the 4G63 incredible head gasket sealing, and it plays a major role in why these engines can handle so much horsepower without blowing apart. Another reason the 4G63 is bulletproof has nothing to do with metallurgy. It's about community and aftermarket support. This engine has been around for over 40 years. It's been used in rally, drag racing, time attack, drifting, you name it. And because of that, the aftermarket support is massive. You can find forged pistons, billet cranks, CNC ported heads, high flow manifolds, standalone ECUs, literally everything you need to build the engine for any kind of motorsport. And because the platform is so well documented, there's a huge knowledge base. That means fewer mistakes, better tuning strategies, and longer standing engines. Whether you're tuning with the stock ECU using something like ECM Link or going full standalone with Hall Touch or AEM, the 4G63 responds well to changes. It can take timing, fuel, and boost adjustments without breaking down, as long as you know what you're doing. That kind of tunability adds to its legendary status, because being strong isn't just about surviving abuse, it's about being reliable even at age. Alright, so we have spent the last few chapters talking about how incredible the 4G63 is. It's powerful, it's durable, and it got motorsport pedigree, no doubt about it. But now, it's time to be honest, because even legends have flaws, and if you're planning to own, build, or daily a 4G63, there are a few problems you absolutely need to know. Let's break them down. Let's start with the elephant in the room, crank walk. If you have spent any time around DSMs or Evos, you have probably heard the word thrown around like a curse, and yeah, it kinda is. Crank walk mostly affects 7-bolt 4G63 engines, especially those made between 1995 and 1999. That includes 2nd gen DSMs and early Evo 4s through Evo 6 models. Basically, the crankshaft starts moving back and forth, beyond what's supposed to. That's usually due to worn out thrust bearings. You will notice the clutch pedal feels sticky or inconstant. Maybe the engine stalls when you press the clutch, or you find metal shavings in the oil. And yeah, that's crank walk. The fix? You either rebuild the bottom end with better bearings and machine work, or you go with a 6-bolt Brock, which almost never had this issue. Next up, oil leaks. The 4G63 is known for them, especially as it gets older. Common leak points include the valve cover gasket, the oil pan, the front and rear main seals, and especially the balance shaft area. If your 4G63 smells like burnt oil and leaves stains on your driveway, it's time to replace your gasket. This one is frustrating. The exhaust manifold studs are known to snap off inside the cylinder head. It's usually caused by extreme heat cycling, which weakens the metal over time. The result? Exhaust leaks, slow turbo spool, and that awful ticking sound. To avoid this, upgrade to ARP studs and use proper torque specs. This one is deadly if ignored. The 4G63 is an interference engine, which means if the timing belt snaps, your pistons and valves are going to meet, and not in a friendly way. If you're buying a used 4G63 and don't know the belt's age, replace it immediately. Use a good belt, new tensioner, and pulleys. Stick to OEM or Gates Racing, and change it every 80,000 to 100,000 kilometers. The 4G63 runs on boost, and if you've got a leak anywhere in the system, your car will run like garbage. Loss of power, high exhaust temps, and detonation, it's all bad news. Old rubber couplers, cracked intercooler pipes, or loose clamps are usually the culprit. So if you're chasing performance, do a proper boost leak test and upgrade to T-bolt clamps and silicone hoses. This one is sneaky. The 4G63 uses 2 balance shafts to smooth out vibrations, but those shafts are oil-filled, and the bearings can spin or fail, especially at high RPM. When they do, oil pressures drop fast, and that's a one-way ticket to engine failure. That's why most builders do a balance shaft delete. It adds a little vibration, but removes a major weak point, and gives a small bump in oil pressure too. So yeah, the 4063 had its quirks. Some of them are edge deleted, some are design limitations, and some are just what happens when you try to squeeze double the horsepower out of a 1980s 4-cylinder. But the truth is, these problems are manageable if you stay ahead of them. Maintain it, don't cheap out, and learn what to look for before things go boom. Because when it's dialed in, a well-built 4063 is one of the toughest engines out there. And that wraps up 4063, the complete breakdown. From its humble beginnings to rally domination and tuner legend status. It's clever why this engine still holds a special place in the car world. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe to the Racing Helmet, and let me know in the comments what engines you want me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.